You will not be able to stay home, brother.
22 million black victims of Americanism are waking up.
You will not be able to plug in, turn on, and cop out.
22 million black victims of Americanism are waking up. And they're gaining a new political consciousness, becoming politically mature. And as they develop this political maturity, they're able to see the recent trends in these political elections. Any minority that has a block of votes that stick together is in a strategic position. Either way you go, that's who gets it. You're in a position to determine who goes to the White House and who stay in the doghouse. You're the one who has that power. You and I have never seen democracy. All we've seen is hypocrisy. When we open our eyes today and look around America, we see America not through the eyes of someone who has enjoyed the fruits of Americanism. We see America through the eyes of someone who has been the victim of Americanism. We don't see any American dream. We've experienced only the American nightmare. We haven't benefited from America's democracy. We've only suffered from America's hypocrisy. And the generation that's coming up now can see it and are not afraid to say it. 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 And are not afraid to say it.
Welcome. You are listening to Black Westchester Presents in the Mix Radio. People Before Politics. Let's try that again. You are listening to Black Westchester Presents People Before Politics Radio on InTheMixRadio.com every Sunday 6 to 8 on InTheMixRadio.com. Yo, we got a loaded show today. Got my man, of course, DK Jones in the house. Dr. Robert Baskerville is en route. We have a couple of guests coming. We're going to be dealing with the recent shootings, what happened today. We got a couple of guests, got a special guest calling in. Let DK introduce who that is. I'm going to let you open it up, man. I'm going to let you open it up.
Yeah, I think 5 or 6 more cops got shot last night. And
this morning, I think.
Yeah, this morning. It was Baton Rouge, and
9 a.m.
Yeah. So it's really unfortunate, and we do not know the motive. So I don't want to hear people saying that it's Black Lives Matter and there's the war on police, and because the black community don't trust police. These incidents are giving those who already had ill intentions, the law enforcement, giving them opportunity, a cover of opportunity to strike at law enforcement. Condolences always go out to any law enforcement officer that is killed or injured in senseless crimes. These are senseless crimes. But we can't, but we cannot dismiss the senseless crimes of law enforcement to our black and brown brethren. We cannot dismiss the senseless crimes of law enforcement, on black law enforcement. So only thing we're saying is, it has to be more dialogue and more responsibility and more accountability, of both sides. But
absolutely.
But it also has to be accountability and truthfulness, on especially law enforcement side, because they are the trained professionals. That's what in
this situation. Yeah, they're the ones
in every situation.
No, but I'm saying they're the ones.
In every situation. I don't care what situation a law enforcement officer comes, they are the trained professionals. That's what they used to tell me in my 3-day-a-year training class. You are a trained professional. You need to act like a trained professional. You should carry yourself like a trained professional. So if an inmate calls you a motherfucker, if an inmate calls you an Uncle Tom, if an inmate calls you any type of names, talk about your mama, do all type of stuff, you are a trained professional. You should not reply or respond in any other way but the way of a trained professional. That's what I was taught. Now, you wanted to respond, you wanted to do other things, but you didn't do it because of policies, procedures, and training.
Now let me ask you a question from another side. So now with officers being killed, and just want to let everybody know we are on Facebook Live. You can either go to the In the Mix radio page, or I've shared it on the People Before Politics 914 page, so you can watch it live instead of calling on you and listening on your phone. You can actually see and hear us, and you can catch previous shows on the Facebook page. But now, so with the recent killings of police officers, and you touched a little bit about this, and that climate between the people in the community and the police already at an all-time high, where both are prejudging each other before they even see them. Do you feel that with more incidents like that is going to give officers more of a itchy trigger finger?
Of course. They already had an itchy trigger finger. I mean, studies.
Already, right.
Right, studies.
I'm saying more.
Right.
Yeah.
It gives them it gives those who use our dark skin as a means of justifying, them breaking policies and procedures and training. It gives them a more justifiable reason to kill black and brown people. Of course, I mean, this does not dismiss the horrible crimes that has been committed to law enforcement by these shooters, but also the repercussion against the black community, if it's not checked by police management and so-called community leaders, will be swift and will be strong, because they have to establish their authority, that they are the authority in the community. So we must understand what we're looking at and what we're dealing with, and hopefully cooler heads will prevail over this situation, because it can become deadly on both sides. Young people can become unjustly killed. More cops will be unjustly killed, and then we'll be caught up in a cycle. This is what some people wanted. They wanted a race war, and I always question the motives of anyone who sets out and kills police, cold-heartedly with no real apparent reason, and they target police officers. So, black people want their communities policed. That's how they will get out the bad guys in the community. So let's not think that, black people don't want the community. They just don't want the style of policing that's in their community. So we need to be clear on that and understanding that. And our local politicians and leaders need to be clear on that and understanding that when black people stand up for accountability and transparency of their police force, they're not saying we do not want police in our community. We just do not like the type of policing that is in our community. So, we just have to be clear-minded, moving forward, and later on we're going to have my brother Preston Gilstrap, who is the former national chairman of the National Black Police Association, the former local president of the Black Police Association of Dallas Police Department, a retired sergeant of Dallas Police Department. And hopefully at 6:30, God willing, everything works well, he's going to call in because it's 5:30. When 6:30, it's going to be 5:30 in Dallas. We are an hour ahead of Dallas, so hopefully he's able to call in. He said he was going to call in, and we're going to have a good conversation because this man has been pushing black law enforcement activism, has been pushing accountability of the police force, and been pushing, all the issues that, all the marches and the leaders have been talking about. He's been talking about this for over 50 years. So, I hope the brother's able to call in because he's a wealth of knowledge, and he puts a perspective on it that a lot of us, even myself, will get caught back in the truth that he brings, to the relationship of law enforcement and the black community. And this brother has traveled the world talking with other black law enforcement all over in England and every place else. So I hope he's able to call in. And we also gonna have Kenny Chamberlain Jr. He's coming in tonight to talk about the march and give an update on his father's case and where does he see, because we also need to talk about what's next. I think we had a big march, man, in White Plains and this Thursday, and everybody came out and people were marching and people was feeling good, and you saw people that hasn't said a goddamn thing since the Detective Ridley shooting in Westchester County coming out the march. Now, I'm not taking nothing away from the march. I think it was great. But to see people, coming out for this feel-good moment, and to see politicians that since the death of Christopher Ridley has basically not passed anything. You had the mayor of White Plains out there. Yeah, that's great. Yeah, well, we just totally forgot that he didn't fire anybody that unjustly shot Kenneth Chamberlain Sr. We saw people marching and everything, but nobody mentioned Dario Tanner's name, the young man that was thrown out the window by Yonkers police, and then they dropped him off at the police station as a John Doe.
The hospital, right?
Yeah, I mean at the hospital as a John Doe. So nobody talked about
and
that.
They wasn't even supposed to be there. Right,
and they wasn't even supposed to be in his apartment, and the DA didn't even do an investigation.
Can I just? And I know you don't want to get too much into that, but what's most egregious about that, the killing of Dario Tanner led to an investigation of 2 police officers being indicted for falsifying search warrant affidavits. And the case that brought it up was never investigated. What the hell is going on with that? Like, that was the case that made them look at the cops, but they never investigated that case. And I think to this day there still has not been an active or ongoing investigation into the death of Dario Tanner. So we need to keep that man's name alive, and we need to keep that in the Yonkers. We need to keep that situation open. And you as mentioned, Kenneth Chamberlain, it's been 5 years, and Christopher Ridley and DJ Henry. We need to keep these names. We need to let the national press get us to take our eyes off these situations that there have never been nobody brought to justice here in Westchester County.
No, not at all.
And just entering the room is Dr. Robert Baskerville, a.k.a. Brooklyn Bob, who Damon. So just a little on the lighter note, real quick. So on the radio we see the Dr. Robert Baskerville. But in the VIP section of the Rough Rider, I saw Brooklyn Bob last night. Like, Brooklyn Bob was in the house last night. Yeah.
Yeah, it took its toll on me too, man. I'm moving a little late.
All y'all were kind of slow.
2 or 3.
All y'all were kind of slow today.
Yeah. I must admit, man, I felt slightly hungover. Just a little, little brain drain this morning.
So I missed it, as you know, but I haven't experienced those type of backstage antics.
Well, yeah, it wasn't. We won't even talk about the whole backstage thing. We were in the VIP section that was.
So that wasn't backstage.
It was
totally different.
They had a little.
Yeah, so y'all wasn't popping bottles and having all that.
No, there was a little area in front of the stage that was gated off from the general public. There was tables and stuff, and we were in front of the stage, and then the crowd was behind it. No. We won't talk about the lack of press getting their press credentials and arm bracelets so they can be wherever they needed to be. But we was there though.
I'm happy for you. And my sister-in-law
seemed to have a good time.
Yeah, she texted me. She said thank you. She was very, She enjoyed herself, and and as I was at work last night, I saw all the I was able to
see a lot of pictures and videos.
Yeah. Facebook Lives and everything. So I mean, it was it was good for Westchester. People came out to support Rough Riders, which is definitely needed, and big up to DNY and what they have accomplished.
It was D's actual birthday. So the General, Darren Dean.
And big up to him and what he has accomplished, in the music industry.
I see the four of them. It was Swiss and the Deans, Darren, and Siobhan. They are the founding members of Rough Riders.
So, I mean,
the Dean brothers and sisters and their nephew.
Look who's in the building.
Entering the room.
Look who's in the building.
Entering the room.
What up?
Entering the building in your video screen.
Okay, you're not seeing the screen has not went double. People,
right. Yeah.
We have different colored shirts on.
Yeah. And we had to do that purposely. So
the screen did not go double.
So we have
you can log in into your Facebook and everything.
We have our brother.
You ain't Kenneth, no stranger. Why am I telling you?
We have our brother Kenneth Chamberlain Jr. in the building.
Good evening.
Yeah.
Yes. And
we was just talking about the march. Wasn't knocking the march. I was just giving my little opinion, my little standoff opinion, and that I didn't go, but I'm glad you was there, and always glad that they offered you to speak. But I saw some pictures, and I saw like people that ain't never saying anything,
Now you've known him longer than I have.
I saw some people that really haven't really said a lot about the issues that has been going on, specifically in Westchester County, and I think I could say that because I've been on the front line, and with my brother Kenny and other people, but I'm really disturbed because I think a lot of times we get upset and we get rallied up about people that don't even live in New York State or don't even live in Westchester County, and when the issues fall, in Westchester County, we get quiet. Like the same people did not come to, Raynette Turner's family's defense when she died in a jail cell. Those same people didn't come in Dario Tanner's defense when he got thrown out of a window and landed to his death. Yeah.
We have a caller on the line, and before I just wanted to do one thing. Kenneth Chamberlain, I don't know if you've met the newest member of People Before Politics in Black Westchester, Dr. Robert Baskerville, and Kenneth Chamberlain Jr. I don't know if y'all ever met.
Well, I just shook the brother's hand.
Okay. So, and we have a caller, on the air, and I'm gonna let Damon introduce the brother.
Preston, is that you?
That's me.
Yes, sir, brother. We got my big brother, one of my mentors, and I'm honored that he called in tonight, because sometimes, people don't get to hear black law enforcement speak strong about issues in law enforcement in the black community. And black law enforcement, especially in Westchester County, they are not exposed to other black law enforcement that speak strong. I've been blessed to travel the country with this brother that's on the phone right now. He is the former chairman of the National Black Police Association. He is a retired sergeant in the Dallas Police Department. And it's my big brother Preston Gilstrap, and I'm glad that you called in. And how you doing, brother?
I'm doing fantastic, my brother. Despite all of the clamor and all of the things that are going down, we must always keep and stay hopeful.
Yes, sir.
Can I just say, wasn't it Preston? It's Preston?
Yes.
Preston, this is A.J. Woodson, this is Damon's partner in Black Westchester and People Before Politics. And if you one of his mentors, I just got to tell you, boy, I was looking forward to talking to you, because I'm around this brother all day long. So if you're responsible for this, I definitely had to meet you. So I definitely was eager to hear from you on the radio today.
Well, my brother, all I can say is, like minds think alike, they say. And I'm just glad to be in the mix.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So how is the spirits of the officers down there in Dallas after this tragedy, brother?
Well, I attended a meeting yesterday that was sponsored by Congresswoman Eddie Bernice Johnson, and people were trying to strategize and get the community to stop talking and start acting out the things that they think need to be done to improve the quality of life in the city and the relationship with the police department, and how those things intercept each other and interwoven in the process.
Right.
I talked to one officer who was a supervisor of three of the officers who were killed down here in Dallas, and he used to work for me. And I told him that if he had been God, he could have stopped all of this. But seeing how we're just mere men and mere mortals, that sometimes things happen that are out of our control, because there's a lot of hurt and pain and discontent in America.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Now you've been out there on the front lines, talking about police and community relations for a very long time, brother. What has changed, if any, from the days when you were chairman of the National Black Police Association? What have changed in the conditions of black law enforcement, for them to have any type of power in changing this institution that we call law enforcement?
Well, I'll tell you what, historically, nothing has changed. Institutionally, nothing has changed.
Mm-hmm.
Black police officers, for the life of me, have just punked up and punked out and don't have any kind of character in regards to addressing these issues. And the reason why is because they were co-opted with the promise of organizational status, positional authority, more money, and some level of deference from their people in blue. And they gave up being black to wear the blue.
Now does that go in line with the decline of officers being involved in black law enforcement organizations?
Oh yes, it's inextricably tied together, because what happens is that while we were out struggling to get increased numbers of officers of color. We oftentimes did not fail to get officers of conscience. They were easily co-opted, and we couldn't promise them the same things that the institution could promise them, like jobs and overtime and pay and status. We wanted them to be married to our organizations because as advocacy organizations, we're trying to abate police brutality or use of excessive force, and to get a daily delivery of quality law enforcement services to all our communities, so that our communities can be safe and beautiful places in which people can live, work, traverse, worship, party, do whatever they want to do without fear that they're going to be compromised by a out-of-control law enforcement response.
Right. Now, do you feel, and I know it's here, I know for sure it's here in Westchester County, that young black officers, and we're and the reason why we're sticking this because, you know, black officers don't know the history of the struggle, you know, of the elder black law enforcement officers, you know, for them to even have this job. Do you see the disconnect between the younger black officers and the older black officers, or don't even know what the older black officers went through?
Well, yeah, but see, some of the people that we call older officers, who sometimes euphemistically call themselves elders, is kind of oxymoronic, because elders never leave the community. They're always there teaching and modeling and doing the things necessary. We told the story, but what happens is the story loses its volume and it loses its worth when people start claiming that they were part of the history when in fact they were the problem in the history.
Really?
You know, I'm going to tell you something. That was a time in Dallas, Texas. Anybody that was over 40 years old, that was a time now, that when Martin Luther King was still alive, claimed that they marched with Martin Luther King in Dallas, and I had to stop a brother and tell him Martin Luther King never marched in Dallas. He came to Dallas to raise money a couple of times, but he never marched in Dallas. And the brother said, no, he marched in the march. I said, well, my brother, then you are delusional, because I was at both of the events when Martin Luther King came here, and I was a Boy Scout, and I was doing the ushering, so I know he didn't do no marching. And the brother said, well, I don't remember seeing you there. I said, my brother, I told him what my name was, and then he said, oh, I know who you are.
Right.
You that crazy policeman. And what he meant by crazy policeman is that when I was around, black folks didn't get called the N-word. When I was around, people were very judicious in the use of force, only using the force to overcome the resistance that was being offered, not to effect the arrest, just to overcome any resistance. Right. And we know on the force continuum, there's all kinds of levels of force. Presence,
that's right,
verbalization, and all those kind of, even before you even get to open hand and closed hand and intermediate weapons and all that kind of stuff. But what happens is that if you are ignorant, this is the role of being ignorant. Ignorant means you don't know a thing.
Right.
But if you know you don't know and you operate in that zone long enough, you graduate to being stupid. Then when you get to be stupid and you operate in that zone long enough, if you stay there long enough, you can graduate summa cum laude to being a damn fool. So what happens is that we don't have people that have value or not have status, who are not the kind of positive stakeholders that our communities need.
Right.
We travel all over the United States historically. Anytime there was a call by black officers anywhere in the United States, we would go by train, bus, car, and be there. We would lock up 5 or 6 in a room. We would eat bologna sandwiches and be out there trying to make sure that our brothers and sisters were getting equal opportunity access and getting due process.
Right.
Well, the institution has co-opted and created a psychological profile to attract the right kind of Negro. And I'm not saying the N Negro, I'm talking about the K-N-E-E Negro. People who are always looking for a hookup who think that wearing the badge and stuff like that. And I tell people all the time, don't put on the uniform if you're not going to be a Superman or a Superwoman, because when people see you in the uniform, they think that you have something special. Right. And if you're not going to do the things that are special, then don't go into the phone booth and change into the uniform. Just stay the same old Negro you are.
That's right.
I just want to say something. See, I see it's by design that there's got to be, for every you and Damon, there's going to be like 1,000 miles between y'all, because there couldn't be two of y'all in the same area. There just couldn't be two of y'all together in the same area. That just, they wouldn't be able to handle that right now.
Well, I'm going to tell you what. There are brothers and warriors who have been on the battlefield for a long time, and because of age and all that, I have now deferred. But see, you can't defer a dream to a person who is suffering from mental insomnia. People are walking around pretending like they really doing something when in fact they're not doing. My grandmother was a toothless old woman, and she used to say, "Cause you there don't mean that you are here. And if you're here, don't mean that you're there." I used to say, "Why are you so quixotic with these kind of things?" She said, "If you live long enough in the by and by, you'll come to understand."
That's right.
Because we got black police officers don't mean we have justice. Because we got black police chiefs don't mean that we get the kind of police service our communities deserve. Because we got black city council persons, state legislators, federal legislators, and a black person don't mean that we get anything because we black. See, and if anybody that because that we have these people in these positions that we're going to get, they are delusional. We have to have people who have right hearts, right mind, and right spirit. And sometimes 1 out of 3 just ain't good enough. 2 out of 3 is pretty good, but it just ain't good enough because we got so much work to do and so little time to get it done.
That's right. Now, Preston, how do we get it back? How do we get black officers to understand that they are one of the most powerful tools in the black community in changing the community around?
Well, first of all, you got to make sure they're in the community. See, you can't go to visit mama, get your hair done, and go out and party, and then go back to the suburbs and pretend that you are so proper and so esoterical that you can't. When you conjugate a verb, people can't even recognize the root word. See, what happens is we have to pull people's clothes down and expose their foundations, and then once we got them in the shock level, then we can somehow penetrate this wall of disconnect and somehow restore our people. Well, first of all, our people have to become teachable. Now, they're good at being trained, but a dog can be trained to do repetitive things. We need people who can think critically and who are not locked into the group think and the mindset of those things that are adverse to his or her family or community's progress.
I mean, listen, anybody else, he didn't drop that. Anybody? Even Dr. Bob.
Dr. Bob kind of quiet there. He ain't had no grand analysis or nothing.
But see, what happens to us is that we lie to ourselves. First of all, we got to stop lying to ourselves. Everything ain't okay, and everything ain't going to be okay if we just wait for the by and by. Because when the by and by comes, you may not be here when the by and by comes. You might be already gone.
You might be by
already. What happens is we have to then collectively, those of us who are conscious, those of us who are intellectual, those of us who can critically think, those of us who can tell the story, must repeatedly tell the story. Tell us whether they want to hear it or not. There's a portion in the scripture I do believe when I was, before I became a defunct Baptist deacon. We should teach our children in their rising, in their going in, their going out about the proclivities of God and how God wants us to be His special people. Now, well, you can't do that if people have already sold out. You have to be able to realize that we can't save everybody. Some folk will have to go on to the by and by. And we should help them, those who who are resistant to any kind of change, any kind of critical thought, any kind of, we got to say, look, if you don't want to help our community, if you don't want to be part of the community, then that's okay. You can make your own decision. But don't come to us when the devil is on you.
Right.
See, go spend your money, where you spend your time, where you spend your energy. Don't come to us when you don't come to work, and now all of a sudden you want us to stand up for you because you got the same epidermis. I like to say what Neil Heston said, because you got my skin don't make you my kin.
All right. Absolutely.
You're right about that.
Can I want to change the tone, since we do have you on the phone and we have all of the recent stuff that we have going on. Like I always said, like both sides are judging the many by the few. All young black men are not thugs, but they all get treated that way, and all cops are not bad. But both sides at this point are judging the many by the few. What do you say to those out there in the community right now? You know what I'm saying? That they haven't seen justice. The system has failed them, and they just gave up on it. And some of what we're seeing is the reaction to that, whether it's warranted or not. But that's what brings upon that reaction that we've seen, like earlier today, and in your city.
Well, as a pseudo intellectual, let me be profound for a second.
Okay.
When you want justice translates into restoration. You cannot have justice unless there's some restoration. Well, most people can't get restoration, so they settle on vengeance and payback. So America is built on a bunch of lies. In fact, law enforcement is built upon lies. People in America think American policing came out of the throes of the Metropolitan London Police Authority established by Robert Peel. But they don't know the real history. They don't know that Robert Peel stole money out of the poor coffers to fund this police effort, and then thereby worked against the poor and the disenfranchised. They don't know that. But the American police didn't start in a institutional vein. It started in a mere survival vein. In fact, policing in America started in border patrols, slave patrols,
right,
and ship patrols, so that they could keep people of color who were coming into the country from interacting with the populace, and to keep those who were enslaved under the auspices of the slave master. And Hubert Williams, who used to be the commissioner of New Jersey, and in the police foundation and all that, wrote a beautiful piece that talked about how law enforcement countenanced slavery, Jim Crow, and everything else. And we somehow don't know that, because we think that there's this romantic view of law enforcement in our country, and that somehow if we play with each other and talk to each other and don't call each other the N-word, that things is going to get better. Well, I'm going to tell you, it's not going to get better, because America is a racist society, and we get the police from the general population of American society. So that means we're going to get some racists in there. We're going to get some mentally ill in there, some mentally challenged in there. We're going to get some people who are not culturally competent. We're going to get some people who are self-hated or are victims of internalized oppression. We're going to get all of these maladies inside the process. So what we get is what we put in. And in fact, most police agencies and civil criminal justice institutions always have people who meet minimum qualifications. Not right there. Minimum qualifications. That means that your candidates are going to be minimalists. They're not going to be full-grown and mature people. They're not going to have community experiences. Why would you keep going to the same old hole, getting the same old fall guy when you're looking for fish? What happens is that we play the game, but we don't understand the game. That's why it requires critical thought and strategy. Imagine, if you will, community-based policing. Everybody in America hanging their butt, their titles on community policing. Well, community policing was proffered by black police people. That's the history. That's the history. Anybody else says it's not true, they don't know the history. Well, what they talked about was the community ought to have the right to pick who should do the policing in their communities. If they talk about the Robert Peel said that only the people that submit to policing authority can be lawfully protected. That's the people. So now imagine if we just throw the system we got now that's terribly flawed out, and the people, we start growing our own and mentoring our own candidates for law enforcement. Wait a minute, I just said something. We start building our own institution from the outside in, not the inside out. And then we start making sure that people that we pick and choose and give the authority, not only do they work in the community, they are best in the community, and they live in the respective jurisdiction. You done started something now. Unions are going to scream. They talking about living in the community. Well, if you don't feel safe in the community that you're working in, then why you don't have any integrity. You don't have any consciousness. You are not competent to apply a law enforcement trade. Then we got to have people who are educated, people who are committed not only to their families but to the family of mankind and womankind. We need to have people who understand that the object is never to arrest. The object is to restore people, because we're talking about justice. We're talking about you don't need to go to jail. What you need to do is stop whooping on your wife, whooping on your children. And you need to go to work and get up every day and come home and then suffer through all of the angst everybody else is suffering through, and at the same time keep a good mind with yourself. Well, that's kind of difficult to talk about because it requires so many different components: religion, politics, economics, socialization. It requires maturation. Then it requires a spiritual epiphany. Until we have that epiphany, until we realize that we are just mere mortals, then we will never see the greater goal. The greater goal is that everybody lives to a ripe old age, have enough money to pay their bills and enough money to throw away on some foolishness every once in a while, and they die in their sleep without being sick and totally decimated by some disease that ravages the body, the heart, and the mind. That's a whole lot of stuff. Well, people want to think that the police are the answer to this, the panacea. The police can't do all this. Have you met most of the police officers? They barely find their squad cars. You ask them to deduce or to deduct something, they would be in trouble. If you ask them to follow simple processes that they've been trained on, imagine, why would you get out of a car with a vehicle camera, a body camera, and then commence to whooping the hell out of somebody without any probable cause? Wait a minute, why would you do that? Because not all people we hired and gave badges and warrants of appointment to deserve to have a badge. I did a workshop years ago called Who Deserves to Wear the Badge? And the workshop talked about some of y'all that were sitting in the meeting that they needed to have integrity and retire and quit because they were not bringing anything to the game.
Wow.
And then before everybody got to talking about Jim Crow, we had a thing called, we just made a reincarnation of Jim Crow long before Miss Michelle did her little book. But we were talking about the realities of it, is that we cannot countenance slave mentality. And that thing permeates police because they have found a psychological profile that almost begs and almost locates a weak-kneed, handkerchief head, black folk who just would do anything that the mouth would tell them to do, just as long as they got a job, a badge, and a gun, and they ain't being pulled over until they get pulled over. But that's one man's opinion, and I've never been known to hide my feelings. I make no apology for loving my people, and I make no apology for loving my community and wanting my cities to be safe. That's why I gave 41 years and 4 months to the job. But at the time, I didn't lose sight of the fact that when I got my badge, I had to go to my church, and the people in the church stood around and made me walk the gauntlet because each one of them wanted to put their hands on me because they told me that they expected me to help be the best police officer I could ever be and that they depended on me for making change. And I took that appointment and that anointment seriously.
Right.
And I don't want to see any police officers shot or misused. I don't want to see any citizens likewise. But those things happen. And frankly, if we would God, those things wouldn't happen. But we're not God this week. And probably won't be God next week or the week after that. So what we understand.
let me ask you a quick question. Like coming from law enforcement, right? You know, since we have you on the phone now, when you do have these incidents like in your city and today in Baton Rouge, what do you tell the officers? Like, I mean, there's got to be a certain. I mean, they're humans too, so there's got to be a certain one to get back and revenge type of situation. But what do you tell the officers when they have to go out there the next day? You know what I'm saying? What do you if you were in charge, what would you be telling the officers to right now?
Here's what I tell all officers. Just do not let fear order your life. Do not let trepidation cause you to be totally immune to the situation. Fear is a terrible thing. Trepidation is a terrible thing. But I'm not given to the spirit of fear, because I know that there's something greater that orders my life. And I tell them the same thing. If you don't have something greater that orders your life, fear can inundate your life and make you make stupid decisions, make you be irrational, make you take unnecessary chances, or make you become a coward. And ignoble characters will not enter the gates of heaven. They will just not enter the gates of heaven. Now, ain't nothing wrong with being cautious. There's nothing wrong with being weary or leery. But it's an abomination to be a coward, because a coward stands up for those who cannot stand up for themselves. A coward says, look, this may be happening right now, but I'm not going to go out there. I'm not going to take that chance. But the real courage comes when you say, look, you know what? This is all unfortunate, and I know my family's hurting. I know the family, my extended family on the job is hurting. Let us come together and give each other comfort and courage and strength and work through this thing, because this too shall pass. Mm-hmm. See, this is coming from a long time ago. Every time something abnormally happened in American society, you could always lay it at the feet of the police. See, the police are the front line for the status quo. They enforce the laws and all these kinds of things, and they create these situations. Well, a lot of times, putting somebody in jail is not the answer. Sometimes it just go on about yourself, my brother. You got to get off this corner today, because I got people calling on you. I don't want to do no policing. And talking to people, engaging people from where they are, not where you want them to be. Mm-hmm. Not caught up in the fact that you have the authority, but realize that your authority is given to you by the citizenry. That you got to submit to the citizenry, because who you work for. The institution is who pays you, but the people pay the taxes for the institution to exist.
Right.
So the people ought to come first. So remember, if you don't have no love for the people, don't put the badge on. If you can't understand the situation and you think it's personal, if you internalize and made it personal, this is not personal. This is the outgrowth of years and years and years of negligence and indifference and lies and institutional posturing and all of these kind of things that create the illusion that some people's lives are valued more than others. That's what this is about. And we all know, if you've been black more than 22 seconds and can talk and can reckon where you are, you know things ain't the same for black folk in America or any people of color, women, or the LGBTQ community. Everybody's got their own mantle to hoist up. But the thing is that where are the people of courage? Where are the people that count? Where are the competent people? So that's what you tell officers. Are you competent? Are you conscious? Are you doing the things that you need to do? Are you treating everybody right? if you see an officer misuse and abuse somebody, have you reported that behavior? Because it's not conducive for maintaining stable relationships with the community. Are you out there sitting on what they call hunting ground where you looking to get people to run that same old stop sign? Well, maybe you need to put your car right in the middle of the intersection and make sure people don't run it. Maybe you don't need to write the ticket. Maybe you need to talk to somebody. Why would you write a man 4 or 5 or 6 tickets? He ain't got no business driving. If he got that many traffic violations, you need to put him a foot. He needs to be catching public transportation. Well, see, I had a woman tell me every day she put her plant on the west side of the house to get that sunlight, that somebody would always steal a plant. I said, well, why don't you? But you see, I live on my living room is on the east side. I said, why don't you put your plants on the east side, get the same sunlight in the morning, that way you can watch them. She said, I never thought of that. He had made 5 reports of theft of plants off this woman's house.
So, now I asked you what you say to the officers. Now I kind of know the answer to this question, but so do you think police precincts around the country are saying that to the officers?
Oh, no. I'm telling you what they're doing. They circling the wagons. Man, you know, we got to be careful. See, that fear and trepidation comes in. Oh, we got to watch out. We got to have better locks on the door. We got to have more cameras and stuff. Oh, but then they had problems with the cameras going in the car. They had problems with the cameras going on the body. But now they want cameras on all police installations. They want cameras all up and down the city blocks and all that kind of stuff, turning into London and all that kind of stuff. Because, you know, they want to catch these people before. But you know what happens? Most of the people that do these kind of things are just like the officers who got cameras in their cars and body cameras on. They're totally oblivious to the fact that they do it because it's a condition not of the head, it's a condition of the heart. See, you can correct the condition of the head. See, if somebody make a mistake and it was just because they were stupid or not as bright today as they were yesterday or a few minutes before, you can deal with that. You can kind of reinforce right conduct and right that. But if it's a condition of their heart, if something in them is not right, they can't stop themselves. They are compelled to use excessive force, to be brutal. And then when the brutality comes back out, they can't understand for the life of themselves how people would perceive that they're being misused. When every fact in America tells you that black folks get stopped more, get arrested more, that are jailed more, and black folk are upset about it, and they think that their lives do not matter. People miss the mark. They missed the mark on this thing. In Dallas, they had a peaceful march. The police, they were taking selfies with the protesters. Everybody was having a good time because people were allowed to express themselves. It takes one person to destroy all of that to create the illusion that there is a war against the police. There's a war in America for people to have a right to a life and the enjoyment of life and self-actualization. That's a war going on. Everybody can't get it. And there's a lot of angry people here. When companies left and took jobs, when people stole money and took pensions, and when health care providers raised the rates and didn't give health care services, everybody's pissed off. But nobody wants to talk about those things until it affects them personally.
Absolutely, right. Absolutely. What can you now? The chief down there, I've heard a lot of things about him, good, bad, and indifferent. There's a lot of conflicting stories. What can you actually tell us? Because I know that you know the chief personally. What can you tell us about the chief?
Well, I'll tell you what. I've been knowing the chief ever since he joined the police department, and he even had me working for him for about 15 seconds.
He said 15 seconds.
He's a very intelligent person. In fact, we used to go to church together and sing in the male chorus together.
That's
he could lay down a song too, guy. I'm telling you, he could lay down a song. Look, I used to like that, but that didn't have nothing to do with the job. Now, on the job, I had a problem. He came to my retirement, and he wasn't invited, but he came. He came because he didn't want to say that he didn't come to my retirement. And he gave an analogy, and I'll give it to you all. And maybe you'll understand why I'm going this way. He said that at my retirement that he was trying to figure out what he was going to say at my retirement. And it dawned upon him that he was thinking about Muhammad Ali. He said there were two things he had against Muhammad Ali was that Muhammad Ali was a Muslim and he was a Christian. I thought that was kind of disrespectful and stuff, but I'm the guest of honor. I didn't jump up and slap his head like I normally would have done in another circumstance. I sat there, and my wife held on to my leg because she knew I was going to get up and do something. And I didn't do anything. And then he said the second thing was he stayed in the ring too long and was only a shadow of himself. So I can only deduce from that comment that he had been thinking about that
he felt that way about you.
Oh, yeah, that's exactly what I thought. That maybe because I was an activist and an activist, an advocate and an activist, that and he wasn't. That was one thing he had against me. The second thing was I had been on the department 41 years and 4 months, and I stayed too long because I wouldn't let people forget how far we have come and how much farther we have to go. When they tried to oust the chief, I went against that because there was a black officer who was the president of the Black Police Association that denounced the chief. And you talking about a slave mentality. We learned a long time ago in the struggle that if we had a problem with one another, we went to each other personally behind closed doors, talk to each other, work the thing out, and we walk out the door, nobody know that we had this big fucking fight. But you don't get on TV and then degrade the leadership because leadership is supposed to respect leadership. And I taught this guy this. And you know what he did? I found out he was not culturally or organizationally competent.
Wait a minute.
Repeat that. Say that again, because I think they missed that. Say that again.
Say that again.
Well, I realized he wasn't organizationally, institutionally competent. I figured it out, and I couldn't do anything for him. So we went on TV and denouncing the chief. And now that the chief,
I think you need to say, hold on, Preston. Hold on. We say names on this show too.
Okay, well, I ain't got a problem with no names. I ain't got no problem with no names. I believe in calling folk out. But see, I was supposed to have measured my responses based on my age, so now I can call them out with some level of force. All right. I'm talking about a guy by the name of Thomas Glover.
Okay.
He's the president of the Black Police Association. He's a 3 or 4 time president of the organization. I don't know why he ran this time unless he wanted to just regain some former luster from his dwindling career. But anyway, he goes against the black chief, stands up. In fact, they had people from the National Black Police Association that flew into town to denounce the chief, and the National Black Police Association had never done anything like that. Historically and all.
That was Rochelle Bilal.
Oh yeah, Rochelle Bilal out of wherever she's from.
Newark.
Yeah. And what happened was it was so comical. It would have been all right if they'd brought some people down that had some standing.
Right.
See, let me just say this. My grandma taught me about human beings by telling me about chickens. Now, it's going to take long. I'm going to tell you what she told me about chickens. She had a farm and she had chickens. Now, there was 3 chickens in the barnyard that you didn't mess with. You didn't pluck them and put them in a skillet. That was the rooster, the laying hen, and the sitting hen. And all 3 of them had names. The rest of the chickens were just chickens. They didn't get no names because everybody knew that one day they would be on the Sunday plate. Right? Now, the reason why the rooster, the laying hen, and the sitting hen were not expected to be on the Sunday plate is because they were producers. You didn't hear what I said. They were doing something. They were making things possible for their owners. They enhanced the quality of life because they were producers. And when people are not producers, only they profess but don't possess. And that's what happens when you got people who are not institutionally, culturally, and competent. They create the illusion that they are something more than what they are, when in fact they are nothing. There's an old saying that says, when you think that you are something when you are nothing, you lie to yourself and have a fool for a friend.
Go ahead. Wait, hold on a second. Dr. Bob has been very quiet.
We've never seen like this is the longest we've been in his presence that he ain't had nothing to say.
I'm just listening. That's all.
Preston, I don't know what kind of doctor you are.
I'm one who's off right now. I'm not in front of the classroom, so I'm not required to speak. Matter of fact, my voice is a little strained from all the partying last night.
You know what? That's what I tell people all the time. I say, you know what? It's wonderful. I tell my children all the time that it's wonderful to be intelligent, but it's better to be equipped with wisdom, because wisdom is a collection of all of the intelligence you can get, data, facts, and all that kind of stuff, and use it in a way that's profitable not only to you but to those that are around you. See, wisdom is always sad because it knows that in the end, not all people have common sense, which is oxymoronic, because everybody don't have it.
Yeah, sense is not common these days.
It's not as common as people think it is. and we have to understand it. But let me tell you the sad thing. There's now a black police organization. I don't know where they find these Negroes they be having on these TV shows. I'm just telling you. I remember in the struggle, we traveled all over the United States, all 50 states, foreign countries, Canada, Europe, Africa. Right. We traveled all everywhere.
That's right.
And what we found out was that there was a need for the police. Now listen to me why we have a need for the police. Some folks just ain't gonna act right. They just ain't gonna act right. I don't care what we do for them and what they do for themselves. Some folks just ain't gonna act right. And they think that gives them license to run amok in the community, to change and disparately impact or adversely impact the quality of life in our communities, and they are not positive community stakeholders. Now, I never at one time put a brother or sister in jail. Wait a minute, I just said it, and I want you to hear me.
Wait, hold on.
I never put brother or sister in jail.
In 40 years.
I put the behavior in jail. It was God that body with it. Are you following me? Because I'll tell you what I used to tell people. I used to tell people that used to commit crimes in our community, my brother, if I caught you, you ain't no good at this. You need to retire. When folks was acting up and an old man was whooping on his wife, I said, man, how am I supposed to come in here and tell you how to run your family when I'm a young man and you supposed to be modeling for me? How you gonna put me in a position like this? But I'm gonna tell you, I'm not gonna stay in the position because I'm not going to bathe in your ignorance. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna enlighten you. You ain't got no more chances on this one. I love you, but I will introduce you to the jailhouse.
That's right.
I done figured out that you don't want to be here and be free and enjoying the fruits of your labor because you're acting kind of strange. And what happened is, the last guy I arrested when I was on the street doing real police work was an armed robber. And I told him, I caught him, picked up his gun and everything, and I set him in the car, and I prayed with him. I said, I hope that you don't get a whole bunch of years, but you need to retire. About 15 to 16 years later, this man found me at my church, stood up in the place and gave a testimony about how I saved his life because I told him about God. I had arrested him for robbery. Now, I think that was a hell of a testimony. I wish I'd have recorded it so that I could play it at my funeral. But since I ain't got it, I'm going to tell y'all about it. But the thing is that we need to be cognizant of three things. our people have been injured by years and years and years and years of racism and a bunch of other isms. And some of those isms we are so married to that we cannot even see our way through the day without dealing with the ism. But the minute we let our circumstances define us, we lose our strength. We lose our power, and our integrity comes to question. And black officers have said, well, I ain't seen no black officers. I remember when they had to step up there where they shot that brother Brown. They said they had 2 police officers. But I didn't see them on TV. I was shocked they didn't put them up front. And then I realized why they didn't put them up front.
Right.
I know why they didn't put them up front. Because how could they have known all this stuff was going on and not said nothing?
Right.
How black officers, white officers, brown officers, yellow officers, male, female, or otherwise preferred, see things that they know that are not right. And then all of a sudden, I'll tell you what, I heard all say, well, it was about time they caught up with him. Because he's been doing it for a long time. Well, you know what? That's kind of cowardice we don't need. Somebody messing up, you need to call them out.
Absolutely.
And you need to call them out. And if you ain't going to call them out, then don't walk around here talking about you the police. You are a pretender. You are a liar. You are a hireling. There's a difference between a hireling and a shepherd, because police officers are called to be shepherds. Let me tell you what, a hireling don't love the sheep, because when the wolf comes, the hireling flees and the sheep are torn asunder. But when the shepherd is there, the shepherd lays down his life for the sheep because he loves the sheep. Now I learned that in Bible 101.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's right.
Absolutely.
Teach that in the academy. Well, I'm going to tell you why they don't teach it in the academy. Because you make people marry their religious convictions with their professional convictions. They used to teach a course in ethics at the police academy, and one guy was teaching the academy class, and he was saying there is no absolute truth. Now I looked at him, and I that's why they didn't let me come out to the academy too much. But I looked at him and I said, "Excuse me, my brother, aren't you a minister of God?" He said, "Yes." I said, "You say there are no absolute truth. Yet on Sunday morning you telling people lies, then." Because you don't tell a lie in here. Because I know faith, hope, and charity are absolute truths.
That's right.
And your Bible says there ain't no law against them 3 things. But the greatest of these is charity. Now, they don't teach charity in the police academy. They teach how to triangulate, how to hit the bullet in the mass, body mass. They teach how to overcome force with force. They don't teach how to reach into somebody's heart and talk to people. They don't teach them to say, look, there may be an alternative to this, but if I don't have the alternative, then I'm going to have to exercise the only option I have. You ought not be happy that somebody's going to jail or that somebody was called a gorilla after he'd been stomped on the street like they text on deal and police officers still got their job. I don't understand that. See, I don't understand that. I don't understand, because when I rolled up, things got professional. Let me tell you why they got professional. Because everybody knew that if I saw some stuff that didn't look right, butt would be down in IAD or in the chief's office explaining why they were doing these crazy things. And you know what happened? I knew that wasn't nobody going to come help me when I called for assistance. So I had to be smart, didn't I? So I learned how to take care of my business, and I learned how to talk to people. And you'd be surprised how many people I deputized that were regular citizens to assist me in the apprehension of felons.
Right.
You know why? Because I had a relationship with the people, because I loved them. I ain't talking about that erotic stuff. I'm talking about that agape kind of love, when you want to see people live and progress and have abundant living. That's the kind of thing I believe in. But see, we need to change the way the institution does it. The institution tells you can't cry. Well, you ain't got no business out there crying and you can't do your job. You need to suck them tears up and get the job done. Then take you a little breather and shed a couple of tears. But I'm going to tell you this. I don't understand why we can't teach humanity to the greatest controllers of humanity in America, and that's the police.
Right. Let me ask you. I wonder. We always try to. It's not always easy to come to some kind of solution. Like, so what is the solution for what we are facing, which appears to be a country divided? So what is? I mean, from the police perspective, in your opinion, what is the solution? How do we fix this?
Well, I'm gonna tell you, you can't fix this broken game. This thing is so broken that it's got too many parts, and all of the parts ain't in the box. So what happens is you got to do a whole new thing. You've got to engage the community, and if you really believe in community-oriented, community-focused policing, then you have to trust the collective intelligence of the communities that you serve to know what kind of policing they want, deserve, and expect. So what happens is that we have to change the paradigm. All that causes problems. That causes problems in these institutions. Changing the paradigm. What you mean? Well, in fact, we need to stop bringing hillbillies into major urban development where the only black person they ever seen was somebody that they was talking bad to. We need to stop people who don't have any relationship with anybody outside of their immediate family, and they think that they are perfect, and nobody else is even close to second. What we have to do is we have to not train, we need to educate police officers. Right. We need to tell them exactly what their behavior ought to be, and that if they veer too far from that, then they will be held accountable. I'm gonna teach them these investigations, these unions coming up with these stand in the corner moments where you give people grace period so they can get their lie together. That's what hurts policing. So you got to get rid of all of that first. Well, you're gonna have hell get rid of that in this current system. So you got to just throw this current system out the door. And the community needs to come and say, since we pay the bills, and this is what my mama used to say to me, wherever my money go, my mouth go. And if you don't want to hear my mouth, don't take my money. Well, that's what the community position should be. We want police to respect people. We want people to respect the police. When the police tell you to do something, whether you think it's right or wrong, you need to go ahead and do it, and then seek recourse after that. But when they seek recourse, they got to be able to come to an agency that is people-friendly and people-oriented. When somebody come in and say, hey, this officer didn't treat me right, you say, what it is. How come they can't have an arbiter there to figure out what the heck happened in that situation as opposed to giving some a written report that has absolutely no response to either party? Officers should not have to bear the brunt of people complaining on them simply because they doing some wrong stuff. And if you done ran a red light, get a ticket. Now, I don't know how you start with a tail light broken out on your car and people want to search your car. I don't know how you get to that unless you got some exigent circumstances or you got something that causes you to have problems with car. But do you have narcotics in your car? Well, why are you asking me that? See, police need to stop that. If you don't have nothing more than a hunch, then don't start out there browbeating people and threatening them with bringing dogs and all that old kind of stuff. See, first of all, you're violating people's rights. See, because that's an intrusive thing that's not based upon any facts of law, reasonable grounds, probable cause, all those kind of things, or suspicion, or being a prima facie witness. You can't just do people any kind of way. Well, that's what happened. I drive up, there are three brothers in suits sitting in the grass. You can tell it was Sunday evening by 1:30 because back then they were out at 1:30. And they had just come from Baptist. You could tell they had their church go to meeting clothes on, and they were sitting in the grass. I said, excuse me, are these guys under arrest? And they no, we waiting on the dog to come down here and search. No. Y'all guys get up. Get in y'all car and go home. People say, you can't do that. I said, yes, I can. I did it. And I said, and what you're going to do is I'm going and tell your supervisor that y'all out here doing some stuff that y'all ain't been trained to do. If you don't have probable cause, reasonable suspicion, and all of that, don't be jacking up, folks. Do this the next time. That's the way the game is supposed to be played. If you don't have them, you call them green today, wait the next week. If they're the same kind of people, you'll get them again. They'll come back around. Just take care of your business. Then, don't talk to folk like they ain't got no sense. They don't understand what you're talking about. Like, do you have a problem with me stopping you? Yes, I have a problem with you stopping me, what the citizens supposed to say, because I ain't done nothing. And if you got something to do, then do what you got to do, officer, because I support you 100%. And guess what? Now, officer, if you ain't going to treat me right, I'm going to tell you, not only do I want your name and your badge, and I don't want you to tell me, point to your chest, there it is. No, I want you to write it on a piece of paper, in your handwriting, so when I take it to your superior, they know you was put on task by me out there at the scene.
Now, Preston, you know damn well ain't no cop gonna write his name and badge number on a piece of paper.
Oh no! I'm gonna tell you, the new police will, because you know what? The citizens gonna say no. If you big enough to stop people, jack them up, and all that kind of stuff without probable cause, reasonable suspicion, or being a prima facie witness to a criminal activity, or you don't have something else, then you know what? If you don't put your name down for those people so that they can act or inquire about your policing style, then you know what you need to do? You don't need to be here because you're not community friendly. You don't talk about the things that we talk about. We're talking about embracing and engaging the community. No, you ain't gonna go out there and just do what you want to do. Yeah, you gonna record what you did, and you better record it right. And if you start lying and see, you know what, the easiest thing in the world is to steal the truth. It's called lying. And my grandma used to say, if you a lie, you will steal.
That's right.
Well, I done said something, but then she said, but if you lie and steal, you will kill.
That's right.
Now she was toothless, and she had that much wisdom. How come we don't have it? Didn't even finish third grade. Couldn't read or write or cipher numbers. But you know what she knew? She knew about her faith. She knew about treating people right. And that's the way we need to treat our police. You give a guy, a girl, or whatever, a gun, a warrant of appointment, a car with them bubble gum machine top on, and give them authority to talk stuff and to stop people and give their testimony more weight than anybody else. They better be good people. And if they ain't good people, they ain't got no business not be good on this place of employment. That's the thing we need to change. We need to change the way we pick them, the way we promote them, the way we assign them, and the way we get rid of them. If somebody ain't treating folk right, they need to be calling out a blue light special at the K-Mark.
Yes, sir.
Absolutely.
Yes, sir.
Now, Damon, you said Dr. Bob was quiet. He's up here posting stuff. He ain't speaking, but he up there posting peaceful protests and much more effective than violence for toppling dictators. So I wanted to give him a minute to speak on that because he ain't spoke today. So it's a Washington Times article. Dr. Bob?
Well, I mean, I've been prompted to think about this question because of the incident in Dallas. I really don't know what happened in Baton Rouge, whether it was a politically motivated shooting or if it was just an unfortunate act of criminality. But it is a topic that's on the minds of many people today. And I know that over the past week or so, a lot of the folks that I talk to have essentially rationalized, or at least Brother Micah Johnson's actions, with the contention that any sort of nonviolent protest has proven ineffective, and that we have no recourse at this point but to rely on violence. And although there's a lot of reasons why that this is the case, but it should be clear that within the African American community, there's been a long tradition in our culture that really heroizes sort of personal acts of violence as a way of taking revenge against the system. We see it today in hip-hop music with the lionization of the use of guns, but we also see it in earlier expressions as well. And as I said on the show last week, Richard Wright made this a subject of his novelistic meditation in Native Son. But in any case, even though this is a widespread perception, there's a lot of recent scholarship that has been done, or at least one important work of scholarship that really has called this into question. And so it provides, if you wanted a short and simple view of it, it provides a graphic depiction of the relative effectiveness of violence, violent revolution, violent action as compared to nonviolent action. And at least according to this scholar's research, hands down, there's nonviolence that's going to prevail all the time. Now, I want to be clear that I think too often in these discussions we tend to firstly maintain that this is either you're peaceful or you're active, and that peaceful is to be non-active and to be active is to be violent. And I think that's firstly a false dichotomy that we too readily accept. There's a whole range of intermediary actions between mere acceptance of injustice and resistance to injustice, and violence may only be the culmination. We have a long tradition of active nonviolent protests of various kinds, boycotts, demonstrations, just to name a few. But so I want people to think, remember that there's a whole range of actions in between that we can take that are available to us, and violence is not the only recourse available to us. And I continue to maintain that. Actually, I think that this is whatever the cause of the violence in Baton Rouge. My own personal view is that this has only further strengthened the hand of Donald Trump, who, despite all of his fumblings and missteps, was very cagey in his exploitation of the incident in Dallas when he made his first, coherent statement to the electorate and said that he's the law and order candidate. And folks need to be very clear that the rise of Republican law and order candidates to national prominence in the United States really takes place against the backdrop of a kind of reaction to what is perceived to be more aggressive, more violent forms of black protests, whether it's true or not. So I mean, that's my basic point. There's a lot to do, a lot in between, and I'm just going to say it as I think a question everyone needs to ask themselves is like, all y'all, see, now I'm ready to be Brooklyn Bob. There's a lot of people out here who say what we did. And just like Brother Preston said, like, I was there and I didn't see you. All y'all people who continue to assert that we did so much, y'all are actually not present. You're not showing up in any kind of alternative political actions. Y'all are not present. It's a few heroic lone individuals who are out there doing it all by themselves, and the majority of the community, by which I mean probably like 99.5% of people who are listening to us right now, ain't doing shit.
Right.
But sitting on your ass and complaining about what we did. And no, maybe if you actually got out there with us and did something that, short of going and taking a gun, maybe we'd be a little bit more effective. And this author's point is that, listen, if you get 10% of people, roughly 10% of people in any society, in any nation state, in any municipality, to join in collective action, nonviolent collective action, you are almost certain to prevail. That means in the city of Mount Vernon right now, we have major problems with an administration that many of us fought tooth and nail to get into office, only to see young Mayor Thomas totally disavow the policies that he promised to fulfill.
Absolutely.
If we want to change that, and I think we need to, that means we don't need 60 people at a city council meeting. We need roughly 6,500. There's a whole lot of y'all who are missing in action, and y'all need to get involved. And that's the whole wisdom behind it. That's the jewel behind the article.
I want to throw something in there. Brenda Crump posted a couple of things. One, she was saying, and she posted it earlier, perhaps, and she's not excusing the killings, but she said perhaps the recent police killings are a manifestation of people feeling oppressed, depressed, suppressed, and regressed, and not addressed. She had two questions. One, and this was coming, Mr. Chamberlain. Is Kenny Chamberlain still running for mayor? That was one. And two was, hey, Damon, is this the or else, injustice or else? Those are her two questions. Y'all can answer it in whatever order you want quickly.
Go ahead, Kenny.
You know you can't come on the show and nobody's going to ask you that. You already know that, right?
Yes, sir. I do know that. I will just simply say what I've been saying the entire time right now. We are still exploring everything, the possibilities. I have been meeting with election attorneys. I have been meeting with fundraisers. I've been doing the legwork as if I'm moving in that direction, but I have not made anything definite yet. And like I told you before, as soon as I decide one way or the other, Black Westchester will be the first people that I contact, and you guys can put it out there first and say, hey, we just heard from Kenny Chamberlain Jr. Either way, yay or nay.
So that's your answer, Brenda and Damon, real quick.
Well, you know what? There's when the minister gave the justice or else, he left it open because a lot of people thought that when he said the or else was a race war, but he didn't say it wasn't going to be a race war. He was just going to say that, you know, there has to be justice or there has to be a balance. And I'm not saying this is the or else, but in the absence of justice, you know, people will take things into their own hands because it has to be, you know, there's a cause and effect, and it's unfortunate, you know, just like Preston said earlier, you know, this, you know, if we were actually doing our job and we were actually, you know, being human beings and treating people as human beings, we wouldn't be at this point, you know, and it's really unfortunate because, you know, sooner or later it won't be about black and white, you know, it's just going to be about they're going to take out blue, you know, and there's a lot of and there's a lot of black cops that's going to get killed, you know, because
while they're in uniform and by the cops when they're not in uniform.
Right, you know, I mean we get killed twice. You know, we'll get killed by a cop hater, and then we could get killed by a racist white cop that don't look at us.
Just see black,
right? Just see a black face. So we get the double whammy all the time, and you know, so there's a lot of levels to the or else. I'm not saying this is not it, but you know, this is a response, you know,
to a lack of justice.
To a lack of justice. We're you know, at least one word. You know, we can't say every cop killing is. We can't fall into the, you know, to the narrative that every time a cop gets shot it's because of Black Lives Matter or it's because of somebody's trying to march or somebody's asking justice for a loved one that's unjustly been shot.
In our history, we've had people infiltrate us to amplify things on another level.
Oh, without a doubt, all the way back to the civil rights movement. You know, I mean, there hasn't been an organization in the United States that hasn't been infiltrated by the government or had people to go in, and you know, even the Nation of Islam, it was clear even with that. So let's not be fooled that, you know, these marches are these marches are not infiltrated. You know, Joe Madison said it. He said it the night that the young men were killed. The second man was killed. He said on the radio show, he said, y'all have to watch yourselves with these marches. Be very careful of the people that you have at these marches. And the next day, you know,
the Dallas situation.
The Dallas situation. So, you know, it's definitely unfortunate.
I want to introduce the young man that just came in and give him a chance to speak on the topics that we're speaking on. We'll pull the mic up, say your name real quick.
Ibrahim Sadiq.
And tell everybody who you are. And tell everybody who you are.
Oh, okay, Andre Rainey, City Council, Peekskill City Council.
Okay, go ahead.
Let's say something on that.
So, basically on the question of is this the or else and justice or else is basically what
well, I just anything you sitting out listening to us and I just give you a chance to speak now. So you got just briefly if you could
Preston's still on the line?
Yes, Preston's still on the line. Yeah.
Okay.
Just to piggyback off of that,
and make sure you talk to the mic too.
Yeah, just to piggyback off of that, I believe that this is an extremity of that, you know, because the or else is like an open-ended statement, you know, that could mean many things, but I think this is one thing of it because you're pushing people's backs against the wall. They feel fearful. They feel uneasy. They feel like there's nothing that they can do about the situation that's going on, the police corruption, the brutality that's been going on since before I was even here, before I was born. You know, my parents have been dealing with this and whatnot. So, like I said, it gets to a time where people feel like this is the only thing that they can do. Certain people feel hopeless. And this is what happens when the police don't take care of what's going on within their own organization.
What's the climate in Peekskill? Since we don't see y'all in the news a lot, and you might have to lean a little bit then so we can get you in the picture too.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah. I mean, it's people are trying to be proactive now. You know, after these incidents occur. But
y'all have something coming up tomorrow?
It was today. As I just came from there. Yeah, they had a rally there. The Peekskill and NAACP did a rally up there today.
What was supposed to be tomorrow?
There's supposed to be something on tomorrow too, right?
If it is, they didn't put me aware of it. But I know that was today. I just left from it. I personally, after watching everything, this isn't necessarily a black and white thing, in my opinion. I believe the media is making it a black and white thing. There are white people that are walking around with Black Lives Matter shirts. You know, this is more of a justice thing. But the media is going to continue to make it a black and white thing, and that's going to create the division that we have right now. As he said earlier, it's not always going to be, as some people are perceiving it to be, it's not always going to be about, the black men and shooting the white cops and the white kid. That's what the media is making it right now. A lot of people are fighting for justice from all backgrounds and races. But the more they push it out there as if it's a black and white thing, the more it's going to be that way.
And Kenneth can speak to that because you always talk about most of your supporters don't look like us.
Are white.
Right.
85% of my support base is white. Out of the black people that do support me, 90% are women. It's hard to get the men to come out. It's hard to get them to
especially if the
anything.
game's on.
Exactly. and it's interesting that you said that because I can remember speaking to a gentleman one day, telling him that we were about to have a rally and a protest. He asked me what time, and when I told him the time, he said, I'll be home watching the game at that time.
Oh, man.
So,
I can tell you a funny story about just today. You know, say right here at Peekskill. We have local journalists right in Peekskill that, we put flyers out. We put social media, Twitter, Facebook, anything you could think of, individual flyers, emails, of everything about this rally. The rally was to unify the city of Peekskill, to address issues with solutions, from everyone. We asked police to come out. We asked the city council, the mayors. We asked the community to come out. We asked everyone to come out. And our local journalists won't even put that on the media. So when you go to Peekskill's local journalists and see what's on their page from today, or what's happening in Peekskill today, you'll literally see a Mexican restaurant that's giving free burritos out on Sunday, and a man was removed from the train because he was jacking off.
Wow,
that's what's important to the Peekskill,
right.
So to see the Peekskill media outlets.
Well, that goes into controlling your own media and
there's one reason we started this,
right?
Exactly,
having to develop. But Preston, what is the history of the in the movement as you see it, of women being more active in the movement for justice than actual males? Because I've always seen more women quicker to step up to the plate and to put on forums and to schedule
get
marches.
Out there march.
Yeah. What is your experience?
My experience is very clear. I'm a woman-raised man. My mama lured me at the end of a belt, a switch, and four other things that she would throw at me. But I learned that every time God wanted to send a good thing to earth, He always entrusted it with a woman, because a man would mess it up. Understanding that, that's not a denigration of the man. The man has another role. His role is to be a leader, to be a spokesperson, to be that model, to be that sense of stability. And what happens is that we don't tell the story enough. We don't ask people to do more. We don't ask them and expect them to do more. I was in a barbershop the other day, and a young man was standing up talking about how many women he had and how many babies he had fired. And I was waiting on somebody to tell him to shut up. And nobody said anything. And this voice was inside my head, told him to shut up. And for him to learn how to be a man as opposed to pretending to being one, when in fact that's what men do. They take care of their babies and take care of their family. That's what they do. And it's not an either or. And justice is not an either or. Violence is not an either or. None of these things are either or. You have to make conscious decisions to make things change and to make things relevant to people. We got to stop letting people fall on the okie doke, going for I can't do it today. No, you can do everything else. You can go to the concert, you can go get a drink, you can go into the party, you can go to the church meeting and pray all night on Wednesday night. You got to do something else other than just surviving and existing and not having your hair being exposed for whether or not you got the receipts for the extension.
We actually got a response from a woman, Sandy Barnaby, said, women understand oppression and we are able to transfer the experience by ways of empathy.
Wow. Okay.
That's true. That's true. Empathy is what makes us survive. By all rights, if things had gone according to some people's hall, none of us would be here. But we learn how to eat everything on the hall from the root or tutor and take a rectal cavity and turn it into some stuff that you eat hot sauce with. We are an empathy. Nobody started to death, even though we all had the same nothing. That's because we had strong women, we had conscious black men, we had children who were being taught, we had institutions, even though they were second rate or non-existent, we believed in the things that our people told us would benefit the group as opposed to the individual.
Right. Now let me ask, I'm going to ask everybody, and we're going to work our way down.
And I want everybody to keep the answers brief.
Yeah.
Bob. I'm just playing.
And, you know, and I still, you know, and I'm going to start with Kenny because, you know, he's been on the front line since his father's been killed. And it's like, where do we go from here, man? Like, where do, because when you, and I didn't attend to go to the march. You know, I've been on the front line. I mean, going to a march, you know, is I had to attend to my mother, but I tried to make it because what I was doing with my mother was I ended it early. And I said, you know what? Let me try to get over there. You know, Cynthia was sending me pictures, and I was like, you know what? Let me try to get over there. You know, and and then all the streets was blocked off. I didn't know if I would have known the march was ending in front of Macy's. I would have just drove in the Galleria parking lot and just walked over there. But I didn't know, so I just went home. Traffic was backed up. I went home. Then I started seeing the pictures of the people that was in the front line of the march. And, you know, it was kind of disturbing because with all the issues that we have been fighting, with all the issues that been throughout Westchester, you know, some of the same people that was in the front line of the march has been AWOL in the struggle for freedom, justice, and equality for people like Kenny and other people, the Henry family, even the Ridley family, the Cruz family. Nobody was around when Sergeant Sakayadu was viciously assaulted by Yonkers police. Nobody said anything when Darian Tenner was thrown out the window. You know, these by same Yonkers police. By Yonkers police. These same people that were nobody was there when Jamal Smythe was
arrested.
When Jamal Smythe
spent 4 years, and we were one of the few people that helped him get out. He lived in Peekskill.
Right, that's family. Right, Jamal Smythe. So everybody was quiet when all these issues. But all these same people that was quiet was in front of the march. So
and I haven't seen some of them,
and some of the politicians
in Mount Vernon when
and
things
some of the
on.
politicians that we sat with to try to pass pieces of legislation, you know, was at the march. You know, so I was kind of upset, you know, and so my question, you know, to everybody, you know, since we see this, you know, where the hell do we go from here? You know, how do we move forward? You know, because, you know, as Joe Madison said, you know, is it going to be is that a moment, or is it a birth of a movement? You know, because if you want to have a movement, it's going to take sacrifice, you know, for everybody. It's going to be some type of sacrifice, especially our elected officials, especially our black elected officials who basically, you know, haven't used their bully pulpit, to move anything, in order of police accountability. So I'm going to start with Kenny. I just want to go down to Bob and go to Preston and even AJ. As we close this out, where do we go from here?
Well, one thing that I think that we all can agree on is that it's going to take everyone coming together collectively to affect any type of real change. Okay? Unfortunately, just as many people that you have that want change, you have people on that other side of this issue who don't want to see change, who feel that everything is fine. Oh, just do what the police tell you to do. Oh, well, what did he do wrong? He must have done something wrong. They'll say, let's not rush the judgment when it's a police shooting, but when you look at the victim, you want to look at and say, well, what did this victim do wrong, or do they have a criminal history? If we're going to be unbiased in this situation, then we need to look at it clearly. Yeah, we don't need to point fingers on either side, but what I found in 5 years in this fight, and it's sad to say that we don't have enough black people on the front line. Okay, you have your progressive white people out there that are making more noise. And what I've experienced in this last March, a lot of the negative comments, and it hurt my heart, was coming from law enforcement. It was coming from black law enforcement.
Yeah.
They were saying that I'm doing too much and I'm causing problems in the city.
I get that too.
And I thought to myself, wow. And just to end on real quick, just to say one more thing. Yes, you had elected officials out there. You had individuals out there who rushed the judgment in the killing of my father. You had police officers out there who surrounded me the day they killed my father.
That's right.
And tried to jump on me. And they were out there holding hands, praying. And I'm saying, wow, you wanted to shoot me the same day that you killed my father.
Wow.
But again,
wow.
I don't look at that as being all police officers are bad.
Right.
I don't look at it like that.
I still got into it. I give you a lot of credit because I'd like to think what I would do, but
I don't look at it like that. My thing is that when you really talk about where do we go from here, the onus, yes, is on the community, because I always say we can't hold law enforcement and our elected officials accountable if we don't hold ourselves accountable. But the hierarchy in law enforcement, you need to start firing these officers, arresting these officers, having them walk perp lines the same way you would do us. When you begin to do that, then and only then will the community begin to trust you.
Suspended without pay so they miss a mortgage payment.
Well, suspended without pay really ain't going to do nothing. Get rid of them.
Yeah. Dr. Bob.
Brooklyn Bob.
Dr. Brooklyn.
Yo, listen. There we go. We must realize that we have no power. We have no rights that we do not have the power to protect. And so our mission has to be to develop new forms of power. And those forms of power will be maximized when we are able to pool our collective resources. People, policies, and some paper are required in each of the different arenas in which our struggle must go forward. I always use Black Westchester as an example. Despite the fact that Black Westchester clearly has played a catalytic role in Westchester politics, there's very few people who are putting any paper behind this organization. And Damon and AJ do a heroic job every day on very limited resources to try to make this a viable media outlet that really speaks to the issues of black people in particular, communities of color on a whole, and also the entire community of Westchester that is looking for some sort of progressive kind of way forward. And you know what? We just need to think about that for a minute, what that really means. And this is true in so many other arenas.
Claps from Sandy. Hold on real quick. Sandy said the march was so important because people need to be together We needed to see one another and know that we are not alone. I think that it is good to see all these people. Now let's remember them. Remember that we saw them there and hold them accountable for what they said. And then she typed, "Be proud, and if you ain't getting shit, you ain't doing shit."
Sandy, wow.
And,
Go ahead, Sandy.
and she gave a round of applause for what Bob said. She gave.
Well, basically, where do we go from here? I mean, the problem needs to be addressed on many levels. The brother spoke about holding the police accountable, having a hierarchy of police enforcement.
Pull your mic down a little bit closer.
Having a hierarchy of police enforcement, holding those officers accountable. But we also have to look at the hierarchy that's pressuring these officers to go out there and target certain groups of people that cause these interactions. We have to hold our people accountable, like you said, the community. We have to start learning our rights. So we have to understand what our rights are in these police encounters, so we know when those rights are being violated. We know that we have other options, because a lot of us don't know that. You know what I'm saying? So when we get into interactions, we don't know what our options are if we're going to take it to court, where this officer messed up, if we can fight this later on. So we have to learn our rights. We have to start holding these police accountable. But there has to be a whole complete restructuring of the police. There has to be new hiring practices. There new training practices. There has to be a third-party review board, a community review board of these police. We can't have policing themselves, when these things come up. So there has to be some sort of action taken. Like I said, it's a complicated issue, and I don't think we have enough time for me to get into the details of it all. But like I said, we have to attack this on many sides.
Absolutely. Make it move in a little bit.
All right. Where do we go from here? We need to put our people in position. And by our people, I don't mean black people. I mean people who actually care for what they do. People who are really concerned about the safety. My uncle used to always talk to me and tell me, don't teach your son how to play basketball to want to be on the NBA. Teach your son how to play basketball so he can want to own a team. We don't have enough people that seem to care about the communities. For whatever reasons, they won't take the next level of being in a position of power. There's people that I've grew up that's been guiding me and mentoring me since I was 11, 12 years old that'll tell me now, the reason they won't go, in a position of a police chief or a city mayor or, a county legislator. I don't want to do that because, politics is dirty and they'll attack your family, or, police might not like me. They might look at me a certain way when I walk down the office. It's like we need to get our people in these positions to start making these decisions. An artist once said in a quote, if we can, I'm all for protesting and rallying and knocking outside the door. The artist said in the statement, it's okay to be outside the restaurant knocking and begging for food, but that was the civil rights movement. We fought for this. Now it's time for us to be the ones in that kitchen. Now we're supposed to be the ones owning that restaurant. Now, instead of us complaining and fighting with the system, let's get in the system and be the system. Then we can run the system. Then it could be our people that we can hold accountable. Then it can, and like I said, when I say our people, I'm not speaking just of black people. I'm speaking of people who actually care about what they see and what they hear is going on. It's really time for us to step up and get in those positions to make the change that we want to see. They tell us all the time, you want to see the change, be the change that you want to see.
Absolutely, absolutely. And Preston, if I can get an answer from you, and I say briefly because Damon said you're one of his mentors, and I got to tell Damon briefly. So briefly, if I can get you to answer the question briefly as well.
Yes, I think we need a Gideon-like experience.
Gideon, I love that. Yes.
We need a Gideon-like expression, because too many people are not always answer. It's not the number, it's the kind.
Right.
And we are focused on numbers, and the kind have not always been kind to us.
Right.
And what we have to be focused on is that we have to take time not only to express our discontent, but develop manifestos so that we can put things into place and cause things to come into being as though they never were, and then write it down and then use it as a point for speaking, a point for action, and a point for resolution. We cannot be cowards, and we cannot let cowards lead in our midst. We must ferret them out as quickly as possible. And I don't mean using violence, but sometimes we have to tell people they're not welcome. If they're product is not conducive to the whole, then we need to be able, because we can't save everybody. We just can't save everybody.
Absolutely.
And I ain't in the saving business. My name, I ain't got no crystals attached to my name. So I'm not in the saving business. I'm in the surviving and the living and the enjoyment business. And what we ought to do is then say, these are the things that we want. Be intelligent about it, be strategic about it, be critically aware of what it is, the outcomes that we want, and don't settle for anything else, and have the courage to carry out our convictions.
Absolutely. And for all those that don't know, Gideon, the story of Gideon real quick in the Bible, he had an army of tens of thousands, and God had him send everyone home, but I think like 300, and he was able to overtake that country or whatever it was with that 300. You know what I'm saying? So sometimes it's not in the big numbers. And if when you want to go biblical, you know, the story of Jesus, he changed the world with 12 people. You know what I'm saying? He sold everything into 12 people. Mm-hmm. It wasn't the masses. You know what I'm saying? We always talk about big numbers, so things can be done with small numbers. And I always said, and I always loved that story of Gideon, and I always said I'm not one of the ones God sent home. I'm the one of the ones, them 300 that stayed and fought. But going back to what Bob says, yes, and I thank you for saying that, because I sound like a broken record every week, and when I tell people that they need to advertise. If you would like to advertise in Black Westchester, give us a call, 914-979-2093. And we have a bunch of specials going on right now. You want to find out what they are, give us a call or hit us at blackwestchester@gmail.com. I want to thank everybody for coming through, everybody for sharing their experiences. I mean, it was definitely a well-rounded group here from a perspective point of view. And that's what, and unfortunately, these discussions come after the violence that took place. You know what I'm saying? We need to be having these discussions even when things are not going on. I think that has a lot to do with turning that moment into a movement. There's a piece on Black Westchester. And most things we talked about you can find on blackwestchester.com. News with the black point of view. Couple of things. We are having a 2-year anniversary party Wednesday night, 6 to 10 at Mangoville in New Rochelle. Definitely an appreciate party for especially all the people who have been on the show and who hold us down. Come hang out with us 6 to 10 at Mangoville in New Rochelle, 134 North Avenue. I'm not doing any other announcements. Thank you, Brenda Crump, for tuning in and holding us down. Thank you for Priscilla for holding us down last night at the Rough Rider show. Definitely a good show. Happy birthday to D. That's it, yo. With that, you could be doing anything else right now, but you decided to ride with us, and we greatly appreciate it. This is Black Westchester Presents People Before Politics radio show every Sunday, 6 to 8 on InTheMixRadio.com. Till next week, peace.
Lose yourself on Skag and skip out for beer during commercials, because the revolution will not be televised. The revolution will not be televised. The revolution will not be brought to you by Xerox in 4 parts without commercial interruptions. The revolution will not show you pictures of Nixon blowing a bugle and leading a charge by John Mitchell, General Abrams, and Spyro Agnew to eat hog maws confiscated from a Harlem sanctuary. The revolution will not be televised. The revolution will not be brought to you by the Schaefer Award Theater and will not star Natalie Woods and Steve McQueen or Bullwinkle and Julia. The revolution will not give your mouth sex appeal. The revolution will not get rid of the nub. The revolution will not make you look 5 pounds thinner, because the revolution will not be televised, brother. There will be no pictures of you and Willie Mae pushing that shopping cart down the block on the dead run, or trying to slide that color TV into a stolen ambulance. NBC will not be able to predict the winner at 8:32 on report from 29 districts. The revolution will not be televised. There will be no pictures of pigs shooting down brothers on the instant replay. There will be no pictures of pigs shooting down brothers on the instant replay. There will be no pictures of Whitney Young being run out of Harlem on a rail with a brand new process. There will be no slow motion or still life of Roy Wilkins strolling through Watts in a red, black, and green liberation jumpsuit that he has been saving for just the proper occasion. Green Acres, Beverly Hillbillies, and Hooterville Junction will no longer be so damn relevant, and women will not care if Dick finally got down with Jane on Search for Tomorrow, because black people will be in the street looking for a brighter day. The revolution will not be televised. There will be no highlights on the 11 o'clock news and no pictures of Harry armed women liberationists and Jackie Onassis blowing her nose. The theme song will not be written by Jim Webb or Francis Scott Keys, nor sung by Glenn Campbell, Tom Jones, Johnny Cash, Engelbert Humperdinck, or The Rare Earth. The revolution will not be televised. The revolution will not be right back after a message about a white tornado, white lightning, or white people. You will not have to worry about a dove in your bedroom, the tiger in your tank, or the giant in your toilet bowl.